Just a minute.
Get this straight, Jay. We're not fighting Ram just so we can get back to the old days with someone else. If that's what you want, then this conversation ends here.
But it won't be like the old days. We'll take the best things and leave the rest behind.
No!
Can we settle this later? Every minute we argue, Ram's putting more lies out there. So let's talk about that.
Welcome to Series 4, Episode 30 of Conversation on Eagle Mountain, a podcast about the tribe. I'm your host, Lance, and joining the podcast panel today is Liz.
Hi.
And Sabine.
Hi.
With episode notes done by Matt and myself. So Series 4, Episode 30, the screenplay was done by Charles Hodges. It was directed by Murray Keane, and the episode synopsis was read out by Liz.
At Jay's suggestion, the Mallrats go on the offensive and target CityNet. Lex receives a shock as he faces another virtual fight, and Ved gives CLOE a taste of paradise.
Alright, so the Mallrats continue to put up posters detailing the truth about the Techno experiments, only to find that the Technos are replacing them with their own propaganda. To further this, the Technos use an actor posing as a mosquito in order to point the finger of blame for the experiments elsewhere. So yeah, panel, what do you make of the portrayal here of the Techno spin machine?
It's a smart move on their behalf. Like, if someone's telling, well, basically the truth about all your evil doings, why not make the public believe otherwise? Like, if you make the party that's telling the truth seem bad, who are they going to believe? The people that have lied to them for quite a while on various occasions, or the Technos who've brought them electricity?
I think it works like as a surface layer of, like, they don't explore it that far. I mean, there's so much more you can go into if you're going to explore how the city is reacting to the Technos, but they don't really want to go into how the various citizens are reacting to the Technos. So this is only one layer. It feels like you're only dipping your toe into this invasion all the time and only getting tiny pieces, tiny crumbs of this invasion. And so when you do get a good crumb, you're like, this is nice, but I would have liked the whole cake, and it does leave me wanting. But I do like the propaganda spin of the Technos, but it doesn't have the potency it could if you could really see what they were up against, because we don't really get the reactions from other kids in the city. The city is, so nebulous, and we only seem to follow like a handful of people in the city who care about stopping the Technos, and nobody else does. So it almost feels like they wouldn't even need to do this, since if it's literally 5 Mallrats trying to spread crap again about them and everybody else is on board with them except this random kid Patch that they found, who conveniently was like, no, I don't like them, I'll work against them, but basically nobody else is interested in working against them. It almost feels like the Technos don't have to do all this to silence a few critics, It doesn't help that we don't get to see if what the Mallrats are doing actually is having an effect on any of the city kids. We never saw how the city kids responded to seeing the footage, So it's like surface layer, it's cool, but it doesn't matter because I don't know how the average city kid responded to seeing, footage of kids being experimented on, or how they might have responded to hearing Amber of the Mallrats say the Technos are great, even though she's doing it in this uncanny valley way. It's like a war. There's a bigger picture to a war. You can easily just say, oh, it's these two people, these two countries against each other. But if you don't delve into the complexities of why they're against each other and how that's affecting both countries, you're just getting the footnotes. And that's what this feels like. On the surface, it's nice to see the technos and how good they are at the propaganda, but it doesn't matter if we don't see how either side is affecting the average citizen in the city.
Yeah, I think you've perfectly explained my issue with it. It is exactly that, because we don't see what the city tribes are, how they're responding to it. There's no weight behind this entire scene. We don't know how they're responding to the propaganda. We don't know how they even initially think about the technos. We don't know nothing from their point of view. So it just feels, well, does it matter? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, because all we really know is that they didn't want a standard pride
yeah.
to go against them.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, you know,
And that's just the couple of city leaders.
yeah,
Hmm.
we don't mind what they're bringing. Like, what I do find smarter about their plan, though, is to actually make someone look like a muzzy, because it comes across a lot different than making someone who's well known, like Amber, say something computerized.
I had questions about that.
It's I don't think they know every specific member of every tribe, but like seeing this girl, everyone would go, "Oh yeah, that must be a muzzy. Might be a newer one, but it's a mosquito."
I think my question about that was kind of like, why with the technology that they've got, why bother getting an actor? I wasn't quite sure about why that was going that way,
Yeah.
because they can just create a computer generated image of anyone.
Exactly.
Wasn't there someone who mentioned, we know that was an Amber. I thought last episode we had someone who said that.
There
So we
was a
know that
kid
was
on
an
the
Amber.
street who was like,
Yeah.
why
Oh,
would
right.
Amber say, yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
again, since they're not really delving into it very far, I don't think it really matters who they would have gotten. And I agree with Lance. It would have been easier to just, rather than get an actor, they've got all these images already in their computers. You know what I mean? They're wasting all this energy putting makeup on somebody, which is a very funny visual. This techno prep team.
Hey, they were doing their job well.
They were beating her face. It was funny. I was like, I like that visual. And but I found it confusing about who this actor is. Now, it's plausible it's just somebody from the city. Anybody from the city who maybe doesn't have strong ties to anybody else. We know she's not a Mozzie, but she could just be anybody from the city and could pull it off. But what's confusing is there are things that she says and what are said to her that suggest she's a techno that they got to do this. For example, she's talking about feeling dizzy because obviously they're hitting her with hairspray and all this powder in her face. And comments on that you're vert, like all verts are dizzy. It's just part of being a vert. That suggests that she's not. She's a techno. You know what I mean? Because why else would he say that? Why would he say that to a vert actor? It was confusing. And then I was like, but she doesn't have the T on her forehead, so she's a techno that also supports that T is not a tattoo. It can come off whenever they freaking want it to. It was just a little confusing as to where she came from. Who is she? And is she a techno that it would make more sense if she was a techno, because since most of them wear masks, she wouldn't be recognizable and it would be less risky than pulling someone off the street who could be recognized and whose story could fall apart the minute someone knows, I know who that is and I know it's not a Mozzie, you know what I mean? And or whatever. But if it's a techno, it's like, okay, why doesn't she have her tattooed T on her head? Everybody keeps telling me they're tattoos, and they can't come off. And that's why Jay wears them forever, on and on. And so that actually did kind of take me out of it a little bit. Because I was like, who is she? Who is this young woman that they got to do this?
Yeah, I guess I always assumed she was a techno.
Yeah, and I'm like, it would make more sense if she was one.
Yeah, but we later see that not all technos have the sign branded on their forehead, basically.
Which is why I always argue it's not a freaking tattoo, because too many ex-technos take it off, because it's because I'd be like, why does Jay continue wearing it even after he's left the technos? And people's first thing, it's tattooed. I'm like, is it? Then where did Siva's go? What about Fish later on? Like, where did they go? It's not a tattoo. It's a stamp. And it's okay that it's a stamp.
Yeah, it never made sense why Jay kept his. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because Jay's just, it's too attached to his identity. He doesn't know who he is without it.
I liked Java in the scene. In fact, Java and Siva were the highlight of this episode for me. I loved them in every scene they were in. I really love Java's professional face. Like, whatever she's feeling, whatever she's going through, how she's able to turn on the phone voice and perform whenever she has to, because
Yeah.
it's the job.
Yep.
There was something about her performance. I just really loved the two of them this episode. Everything else was like, whatever. But those two, golden stars. I loved every minute they were on the screen, whether together or by themselves, subtlety in their choices and what they were given to do. And I just really loved Java in this scene.
Oh, sorry, just a random thought just popped into my head. I wonder where they got the mosquito outfit from. Wonder who they
Well,
grabbed that from.
Moz has been missing since they arrived. She went out to find them.
Hmm.
Oh, it's messed up because we know, like, Dee doesn't seem to have. There's like maybe one other mosquito wandering around the city,
Hmm.
and Dee doesn't really talk to her or have anything to do with her. But we know the rest of them were captured. So this almost suggests that when you're captured, they strip you of all your belongings.
Huh?
Ooh, I'm just saying the
Quite
comparisons
possibly.
to a Nazi, prison camp are a little too close for me there. Like, those clothes belonged to a captured Mozzie, Mozzie who was captured in the beginning invasion.
That's an idea, yeah.
Poor Mozzie.
I will say I like the choice of picking a tribe that was a little bit obscure. Like, they could have picked a more prominent tribe to impersonate, but I like the fact that they picked one that's more was on the sidelines. For all of Maz's blustering in season 3, the Mozzies weren't some huge influential tribe. They basically got by on it was Maz's personality. You know what I mean? Her tribe, though, had no real influence. There was nothing special about them or unique about them. And so they'd be easily forgettable, you know? They were just like her backup singers. You would remember Maz, you'd recognize her, but you wouldn't recognize any of the others. They were faceless. They had masks on. And so I really did like that choice to pick a more obscure tribe that people know exists, but may not be familiar with all the people in it to impersonate, rather than one of the bigger tribes where, they'd be more familiar with all the people in it, who's been around longer, all that jazz. I thought that was a smart choice.
I kind of wonder if it's partially on purpose. I mean, they know Dee is working with the mole rats, or is a mole rat now, and they claim to have so much knowledge from before. Like, in the beginning, when she was, walking through the city with Lex, she was still in her mosquito outfit. So I wonder if it's kind of just, being annoying to the mole rats, and, well, the sheriff's little helper.
But then that would be silly because
That would, yeah.
they know that there's actually a Mozzie who is with the troublesome tribe
Mm.
who could speak out and say this is not a Mozzie. I mean, that's the first thing Dee says when she sees her. She's no Mozzie.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So if they did it on purpose, like specifically picked a mosquito because they know Dee's a mosquito, that would be foolish. That's dumb. Because it's like, dude, she'd recognize one of her tribe mates. You're just asking for trouble there.
Yeah, my brain just, I wouldn't put that past Ram.
I'm always confused about what he knows and doesn't know at any point in time. But at this point, he doesn't quite know the more or has deep into this as I think. Yeah, he knows that the ecos. I think at the moment are behind this. I think I get confused what he knows and doesn't know at any point.
It's the convenience of the writing, so they can just pull anything out of their butt when they need it. I'm confused. I'm a little confused though. I do think it's fascinating that they chose to make the boogeyman something unknown. Like, as this actress is describing the people who are actually behind the experiments, she doesn't really describe them. She literally says it's something undescribable. And it's like, try. Okay. If there is a group of people out there hooking people up to wires and experimenting on them, give as much detail as you can so others can recognize them. Okay. which would be the first red flag if I heard this broadcast. I'd be like, she's not even describing who did this to her, and that's absolute BS. But I am interested as to why the Technos chose to make it an unknown entity rather than targeting the Mallrats who they already see as an issue. If you're not just going to get rid of the Mallrats for whatever freaking reason, why wouldn't you make them the enemy? Why wouldn't you have her, subtly describe them as Mallrats? She could even be like, I'm not sure who, but they had this thing on their hand, describe the pentagram or something like that. Other people in the city would be like, I know who the pentagram belongs to. It belongs to those friggin' Mallrats, like, why not use this opportunity to target the Mallrats?
Yeah, but if it's something like that, everyone would know that, so it would be weird for the pretend mosquito not to know that.
My point is, though, why not target the Mallrats? Why make up an invisible enemy who's behind these crimes when the Mallrats are the perfect scapegoats?
Yeah.
When you've already established that Ram has an issue with them, Java's already been in their mall threatening them, why not?
Yeah. Could just be Ram wanting to play games, so.
Or it could just be bad script writing, because Mallrats can't go anywhere either.
That's true too. Needing to get Ram off her back, Ebony asks Java to speak to him again about his proposal. And to Ebony's surprise, she agrees, but having just seen both Ebony and Jay kissing, she instead tells Ram about their affair, persuading him that Ebony is the guilty party.
I know why she keeps turning you down. It's not easy to say this, Ram, but the reason why Ebony keeps saying no to you is because she's got a thing for Jay.
I thought that might have been the case, but I didn't think you would dare.
We also find out later that Java paid Candy to seduce Lex. See a panel, what do you make of the way Java has been sowing discord throughout these things?
Well, she didn't lie. She told Ebony she talked to him, and she does. She is, and even in the way she's talking to him, sure, Java has always wanted to get rid of Ebony. Fine. They're not going to really explore the reasons. It doesn't matter. It's been established. She wants her little sister out of the picture. She's accomplishing that. Like, she's not only trying to talk him out of wanting Ebony, but she's also trying to take Ebony down at the same time. It's not like Ebony was specific about what she wanted Java to say to Ram. She said, can you just talk to him because he's trying to marry me? And she's like, sure, I can talk to him. Telling her that she's hooked up with another guy and that she's the problem, that's a way to get him to lose interest in her. So Java's not even lying. She's not even betraying Ebony really in doing what she's doing. She is trying to talk Ram out of marrying her, showing that she's a problem. You don't want her, even saying she's hooked up with one of your freaking generals, for Pete's sake. Like, that's not the woman you want to add to our little family. Like, come on, dude. So she's doing exactly what she said she was going to do. I know we're supposed to see her as the bad guy, but I don't. Like, I really don't. I'm just like, yeah, you can't give a sister who hates your guts free reign. You can't be like, oh, can you go handle this for me? And think that's going to work out in your favor when this girl hates you and you hate her just because you're in a good mood today and you two aren't sniping at each other. Are you just going to forget, Ebony, that you guys have all this history of hating and trying to kill each other? And you're going to can you just talk to him? Can you throw me a bone? Can you do me a fave, sis? Like, you guys have always been on good terms? Like, give me a break. That's on Ebony. That was stupid. That was really stupid of her. All right. And as for her paying off Candy, I don't care. Like, she told Lex to get out of the picture. And if Lex was a decent guy, her paying Candy wouldn't have mattered because he wouldn't have taken Candy back to sleep with her. All she did was pay Candy to be temptation, and Lex jumped in. Okay, that's on him. So I know I'm supposed to think Java's some awful person for, pulling the strings, but I don't. I don't think she is.
She figured out perfectly well how to play Lex, and he was stupid enough to take the bait.
She
just like she predicted.
She used his personality against him. It was his choice to cheat on her sister. He didn't have to do that. Her paying Candy literally has nothing to do with it. Because if he was into Siva and devout, he wouldn't have slept with Candy.
Yeah. She knew perfectly well what she was doing,
Hmm.
and she was doing it great.
But we're supposed to sit here feeling like, oh, she got in the way of this great love story. No, she didn't. She's trying to save her sister from this man. Trying to show her sister what kind of guy he is.
In that situation, I'm totally pro Java. Never thought I would say that.
Exactly. Java's sowing discord. No, Java's just revealing who people actually are. Lex didn't require anyone to be paid to seduce him. He was ready and willing to sleep with anybody who offered themselves to him.
And Candy probably would have without payment.
Yeah, she even said he was pretty cute. You know what I mean? I was there for it. It was cool. But yeah, we're supposed to see that, and it's supposed to like turn the whole thing on its head. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Lex still slept with her. It'd be different if she'd, you found out that Lex and Candy hadn't slept together, that she'd actually, put something in his drink and he'd been passed out the whole time. And when Siva showed up, it just looked like, but that's not what happened because we got to see them waking up together. It's all very clear. He slept with her, totally was cool with it, didn't feel an ounce of guilt, and then tries to gaslight his girlfriend into thinking that her eyes don't work. And again, Ebony's an idiot going to her sister and expecting her to be in her corner after all of their harsh history, because that's just the way Ebony is. She'll do terrible things to you, and then because things are going good for her, will think it's all water under the bridge. She'll be like, well, I'm not trying to kill you anymore, so we're friends now. And it's like, no. If you weren't specific about what you wanted Java, what her involvement talking to Ram was going to be about, then like, dude, you were just setting yourself up. Java wants you out of the picture. She doesn't want you to marry Ram. So she'll say anything to make sure he doesn't. That's not a good look for you, Ebony.
Oh. And it was like a double hit of stupidity because they were kissing out in the open as well.
I
to start
know.
with. Like,
Pete's
where
like,
did your brain cells go? Like, come on.
Jay's been hitting it. He knocked the common sense out of her. This place is plastered in cameras.
Supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
They're just brazenly out in the open kissing, like, come on. And then you go and ask Java for help, like, ugh.
Yep. All Polly Sunshine. Hey, John, can you do me a favor? Thanks, sis. Oh, you moron.
If he stays on the air long enough, he'll have the whole city believing him.
And I hope you've brought a good idea with you.
The only thing I can think of is for Patch to get into CityNet again. But this time crash it. Think you can do that?
I could throw some viruses at it, I guess. But I'd never get past Ram's virus scanner.
Say we did turn the city against Ram. What would happen next?
I'd use the chaos as a cover for getting rid of him on the inside.
And then you'd all leave, right?
Well, wouldn't it be better if we stayed and continued the program without him?
No way.
Wait a minute. Electricity's just the beginning. We can still try to have hospitals and schools and all the good things we came for.
Schools?
No, forget it.
So yeah, panel, what do you make of the Morats' alliance with Jay and the lack of a clear plan to fill the power vacuum after the Technos?
Of course there's no plan. Isn't that the mall rat way?
Mm-hmm.
Their focus is always on just taking down the bad guy, not about what to do afterward. I mean, how they handled the Chosen was the perfect example. They took down the Chosen, and then we saw how wishy-washy they were about what to do after. They didn't really, they said a lot of all the things they want to accomplish, but they didn't actually do anything after they'd taken down the Chosen. So this is no surprise that the Mallrats have not thought of the aftermath of taking down the Technos. I did at least appreciate the fact that this would be an argument. What do you do afterward? What is the end goal here? But again, it doesn't matter all that much because it's literally just one Techno talking to 4 Mallrats, and only one of the Mallrats is arguing again. And so it's like, this would be a really impressive conversation if this was like other tribal leaders talking about what they want to happen to the city after. But no, it's just Pride deciding what's going to happen for everybody in the city that he doesn't give a crap about, so it doesn't matter. But I do appreciate they brought that up, that, okay, great. What are you going to do after you get rid of Ram? What are you going to do now? you know, and there's no talk about
No.
getting anybody back, finding out where anyone was taken.
Hmm. We don't want to know where
Neither
Bray
one of them
went.
care about that.
We don't want to know where Bray went. May who?
Not even who? Like, nobody cares about
Ray,
getting their loved ones
Ray,
back
Ellie,
anymore.
Jack. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah,
Alice.
half of our tribe. Like, it'd be great if we got them back. Jay doesn't care about, that he doesn't mention, letting prisoners go. Like, they don't care about that. So it's a pointless conversation, but I'm still glad there was some mention that they never really do have a cohesive plan of what to do when the bad guy's gone.
I think the best part of this conversation, other than the fact they had it, was Celine, actually. Celine going, this isn't what we're going to discuss right now. Let's just get this done first, because you can see it in her face that she doesn't agree with Pride, and she doesn't want to have that fight right there, right then.
Or it could just be the scriptwriters going, we don't know what we're going to do after. We need to skip over this and just get back to focusing on taking out the bad guy.
But what I did find interesting is Jay going, okay, Patch, could you possibly, do this technological bit without giving him any hints on how to do that? Because Jay, as a techno, we would assume you know at least a little bit about this. It's like, but it shows us that Jay has no clue about programming.
Yeah.
He's just there to be a pretty boy.
Jay was a diversity hire. If all of the technos are smart, technologically minded people, Jay was DEI, 100%. They were like, oh, we got to give him an opportunity. All he's got going for him is that he's pretty, but we'll bring him in anyway.
See, they always make it seem like Ved joined with the technos because of Jay, that he got in that way, but it's totally the other way around. They kept Jay because Ram needed Ved's brain. And well, he was pretty, so at least he looks good on a poster.
Yeah, you get the sense that Jay was the one they had to butter up because he wanted Ved.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe at the time the brothers were sticking together or something, and he was like, no, Ved, you're not going to join this weird tribe. And Ram was like, okay. Maybe Ved, he was like, dude, I'd love to join you, but my brother, we made a pact to stick together, and I don't want to leave him. And
maybe Ved gave Ram the suggestion. I just promise him some schools, some hospitals. He's a sucker for that.
Yeah, Ram's like, don't worry, I'll figure out what your brother wants, and I'll get you both in here. That would definitely go a long way in explaining how much resentment Ved has for Jay, because it was Ram. I mean, it was Ved who was likely recruited, and Jay was like, "Oh, we just got to get him in here so we can get his little brother." And then he's made general, and he's bossing him around. And how many times has Ved wanted to say, "They didn't even want you"?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I just don't want any of my comments misconstrued. I don't have a problem with DEI or diversity hiring. That was a joke at Jay's expense and him not being very smart. I want to make sure that's clear to anybody listening.
Ah, Jay, what would he do with a brain if he had one?
Just implode.
So then, I swam underwater through the shipwreck, and there were all these fishes.
Yeah? How did you steer?
Whichever way I wanted to go, I just thought it.
And it happened?
Yeah. It was the best experience of my life.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Ved lies to CLOE about his involvement in the experiments in order to keep seeing her, and claims instead to be working on a new world, distracting her with her trip to the prototype version. He then leaves her with clear instructions to come out of the program when instructed, but Jay later finds her still inside and wanting more. What did you make of the Techno's new world and its effect on CLOE?
It's pretty, and I understand why she, kind of gets lost in it. It's something so pretty, so completely different from what she's ever seen. And let's face it, with the age CLOE was when the virus hit, she's never experienced things like this before.
I think it might have benefited from a better fantasy. Because he's taken her to the beach before. They've gone to the beach a few times, and they never take advantage of going swimming or doing anything like that. Which is really interesting that they never do that anymore. But anyway, whatever. I think it would have benefited from something that she can't actually experience in the world she lives in. Because she can go to the beach. She can ride on dune buggies. She can go swimming. She can have sex with her boyfriend there. She can do all of that in real life. I think the fantasy would have been better if it was something that Chloe literally cannot attain in the world as is. Uh, I think many of the fantasies are lacking in that way. Some of them really work, like, oh, I want to be Mr. Popular, and that's your fantasy. Yeah, that would probably work for some people. They can't attain that in this world. But I do think this one would have had more impact um, if it was something that we've never seen Chloe do, and we know Chloe can't do. She can't experience. And other than just I went swimming. And it's like, dude, you literally have a beach there. You've gone there with your boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen you. Why haven't you just gotten in the water with Ved and tried it out? You know, I mean, I get maybe on some level the whole point of the fantasy is that it's better than real life. So yeah, you could go to the beach in real life, but you have to deal with all this realistic stuff like sand getting into your food and the water being too cold and seaweed is yucky. And what if it was just like a perfect, pristine beach where it's what you imagine when you want to go to the beach? But I don't think that conveys well visually. And so I would have preferred that, but overall, I don't have that much of a problem with the scene. I like Dan's acting. It's got a nice nervous energy, I think works. And wanting to really willing to divert Chloe from tapping into what he's actually doing and also wanting to show her something cool that he's been working on. And that's, well, it seems like that's what these tortures and the experiments are in service of, and
Mhm.
it worked. It was a great distraction. And she trusted him enough to just put the helmet on, despite the discussion they literally just had. She was like, "Sure, okay, I'll throw it on my head," and um, yeah, that's all I've got.
Yeah, I got nothing else to add to that. See.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, what else could they have done? But
Mm.
because they don't want to point out where the city is in the world, they're not going to do things like, take her to Disneyland or.
No, it doesn't even have to be that. It could still be generic, but a generic experience that she can't really have
eh,
in the world that she's in. Like with
Skydiving would have been fun.
yeah, like later what they did with Pride was actually a pretty smart fantasy. They teased Nature Boy by giving him the ability to fly, to soar through the sky and through the clouds. They tap into something that a person literally can't do. You know, I think because they do the beach fantasy a lot in
Yeah.
this real easy one, I guess. And so I just would have liked to see more diversity in the fantasies that appeal. But I'll give them points for this. We are given our first hint of just how addictive this is. Because Chloe immediately is like, oh, wow. So it gives that sense that she's experiencing something internally, even if she's just looking at water. The way it feels to her is something she hasn't felt before. She hasn't experienced in real life. And then she doesn't want to leave. And just that, even that, like Ved tells her, take it off when you're prompt to do so. And she claims, I know it told me to, but I didn't want to leave. I do like that foreshadowing of how addictive what is happening to your brain when you're in there, what you're feeling, the dopamine.
Siva refuses to speak to Lex and asks Ram to be his next opponent in the virtual fights, surprising both Lex and Java. Although instructed to let Lex win, she gets carried away and knocks him out. Ram is angry at Siva and washes his hands of the now useless Lex, with Java taking great pleasure in ordering him to be thrown out on the street. Yeah, Siva's revenge and its aftermath. What did you make of that?
It was justified.
I loved her. I loved Siva in this.
I mean, this girl has the chance to kick her cheating boyfriend's ass. Yeah, I'm all here for it. Someone needed to do this sometime.
Full agreement. I think this is the first time we've actually seen someone be able to get justified revenge on a partner who's wronged them in the show. And yeah, most of the time they sulk, they break up, they pretend they're dead, like whatever it is. They do everything but really confront that person and let them have it. And this really speaks to a primal desire to get revenge on someone who has wronged you. And it works because it's completely justified. Lex did wrong her. It wasn't a misunderstanding. She wasn't lied to. You know what I mean? He slept with somebody else and then tried to gaslight her about what she literally saw, and tries to play it down. It was a mistake. Dude, a mistake that lasted hours. That was a choice you kept making. Right? And it felt good. It really just scratches that petty side of you. I'm like, why haven't we ever gotten more of this kind of petty revenge every time someone hurts you? Instead we get people trying to be the bigger person, which is nice. But this just is more visceral. And it's like, who hasn't wanted to do this to a partner who's done you dirty? And the actress who plays Siva, she was in it. Like, I loved her performance. She was amazing.
You have to say the kickboxing fight was directed really well. I think that's one good highlight from the episode.
I also appreciated how in character it was for the kind of person Siva has been set up to be. Siva is two sides of the same coin. She can be the sweetest person you've ever met. Who, me, Miss Innocent? I'd never heard a fly. But she's also a little cray-cray. And she's already told this man, you do me wrong, I'll tell my crazy husband about you. And he might forgive me, but who knows what he'll do to you, right? And so I felt like this was right down her alley of, I'm not going to let this slide. I'm not going to go cry in a room until later. I'm going to let you have it. Siva is going to break your windshield. She's going to put a potato in your tailpipe. You know what I mean? She's not going to just let this go. She's like, I'm going to destroy your pride, your ego, your fame, all at once. All at once. It's not enough to dump you. I'm going to burn everything you've built. And I was like, yeah, okay, I believe it. I totally believe she'd do that.
And in front of the whole city. All those adoring fans can see him lose to a girl.
Like, I liked you when you were still just a loser. And you cheated on me as soon as you got a little clout. I'll make you a loser again, buddy.
Yeah, one obviously big annoyance from this whole thing is the wet sponge ending of just chucking Lex out. Like, we had all that set up of him going to die, if he loses a fight and everything, and there's just a random sentence he's just chucked out. So what was the whole point? There's just no stakes. There's nothing's happened.
Yeah, like, does that even ever come back? The whole you could die in the game. Again, it's like, did he just say that to him to scare him, or was it something that they were actually experimenting with? I don't think it comes back.
And he was in there obviously because Ram believes he stole the computer equipment. I was like, so just let go. I don't know. It's just weird.
Right? Why wasn't he shipped off to some prison camp? Because the whole reason he's in there is because he was believed to have been stealing their stuff, and this was supposed to be his punishment. Yeah, it's like, what the... But of course, none of that mattered. It was a means to an end. A lot of the plot is just to get us from here to there, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So as much as I did enjoy this, and I enjoyed the fight, mostly for Siva's performance. She was fantastic, woman scorned. And it was nice to see, again, somebody beat the crap out of a partner who has done them wrong. Would have loved to see Alice do it to Ned more, or something like, just be like, ooh, would have liked to see this in the past instead of just letting their transgressions go. But especially since this one's so cut and dry. This is not a complicated situation. This is not Ellie falling for her captor and Jack coming back and seeing that. No, this is cut and dry, easy bad guy, okay? And it's like, you couldn't ask for a better situation to punch this person in the face. And so it looked great, directed well, acted well, especially in her end. But in the scheme of the whole thing, it still feels a little empty. It's like empty plot because, again, it's not clear what she means to Lex. He's clearly not willing to punch her in the face. Right? So there's that. But that's a really low bar of caring for somebody. Really low. He was still willing to easily just sleep with someone behind her back and then lie to her face about it. So it doesn't really matter how this is affecting Lex on a personal level. And I think about the potential the story could have had if, let's say, Lex only seduced Siva to try and get in with the Technos and to spy because he's trying to get his wife back. Then he starts catching feelings and he's trying to fight those feelings and on and on. There's so much more that could be happening, and we might feel something for him in this situation. And instead, we don't, because he's not even a character, he's a caricature, And so it's like girl power move Siva, but it doesn't matter. Who cares?
That brings us to our final thoughts of the episode. With Jay's help, Patch manages to get a virus onto CityNet, and the Morats celebrate their victory. That is until Ram once again turns the situation to his favour, blaming the rebel activities for a much wider attack and purposely switching off the power in order to turn the city against them.
Nice going, Ram.
Yes. Let whoever's behind this feel the full rage of the city. And be destroyed by it.
So yeah, the Morats' short-lived victory, what do you make of that ending?
He's brilliant.
I honestly loved it. I did.
Ram must have said, okay, what if this happens again? What if someone hacks my live stream again? Let's just pull back some of the electricity in the city and blame it on the people hacking us.
Smart, yeah.
It's brilliant. It's great
Honestly,
move on his part.
I look at some of the better ideas that were implemented with the Technos. Propaganda, creating a false enemy, using the amenities you're providing as a way to, gain favor and punish those who aren't giving that favor. I feel like they took those better ideas that weren't utilized as well in season 4 and gave them to Mega in season 5, because I do feel like he utilized all those techniques much better. And even though season 5 is still crazy and it's insane, but if you just isolate Mega's behavior and his plan, it's a lot of the Techno stuff that was in season 4 but done actually better and more effectively, and actually has a purpose, where the Technos, they just kind of do this stuff, and it's like, if you could do this the whole time, you could literally control the city by cutting off power and amenities to certain sectors that don't work with you properly, you know what I mean, and only give it to the sectors that do. There's so much more you could do with this, and you don't do it, and so it's a nice introduction to an idea that won't go anywhere at the end of the day, especially since you guys already suspect the Mallrats of being an issue, and you could have called them out and just made them your public enemy. But now you've just made a faceless enemy the bad guy, and I don't know. I enjoyed the gobsmacked looks on everyone's face when they realize their plan has gone awry, but I do think it could have been better.
I don't think it's a faceless enemy as much, though. Because Ram knows perfectly well what's going on. He's well aware that the Mallrats have some popularity in this city to a certain degree, because as far as he knows, Ebony was one of them and got elected city leader. So taking him down by letting others form a sort of witch hunt onto who's the evil person doing this, it gives them a common enemy with the Technos. And it gives the rest of the city the feeling of being involved in figuring this out, even though Ram already knows.
I don't agree with that. I don't think it's made clear that Ram believes the Mallrats are behind this, and I don't think it makes sense the way he goes about this. If this is his goal, if it's true and he believes it's the Mallrats, he didn't believe Jay when he tried to throw the ecos under the bus and say, "Oh, it must have been them who freed all of these people," and blah blah blah. If he believes it's the Mallrats, then the script that they have the actress saying would have pointed more to the Mallrats. Instead, she points to a boogeyman, an inhuman boogeyman. Okay. And so I just don't think he believes it's full-heartedly the Mallrats, even though, and again, I think Lance said it clear best. We are not made, it's not made clear to us what Ram does and does not know. I mean, in this episode alone is the first episode where he's told Jay and Ebony have a thing, and he seems completely surprised by it, even though there are so many context clues from before that suggest that he has a hint that there's something going on. It's on and on. So if that's the case, if he really does believe it's the Mallrats and he's setting them up to be targeted by the city, I don't think it was well done or well portrayed or conveyed. Because this would have been a perfect time to call out the Mallrats and have the city take them down as the enemy. And it's not like there wouldn't be evidence that they are the enemy of the Technos. You telling me that nobody has seen them putting up signs? That they haven't, been contacted by Mallrats, that there aren't witnesses. You could be like, oh yeah, totally. We worked with Pride to try to take down the power station. You're telling me there wouldn't be witnesses to corroborate that story? There'd be plenty of people who would believe the Mallrats were behind it if he wanted to call them out and just get rid of them. Only thing this does is the city doesn't know who the activists are, and it just means if you're an activist, you got to go underground and be quiet about it for a while. And if that's all you do, no one's going to come after you. All it does is quiet the activists. It doesn't actually point the direction at the people you want to get rid of. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it does go back to, I just wish I knew what Ram knows. We don't get much insight, which doesn't help with these scenes.
It's clearly one of those scenes where, like we have for series 1 with the whole Birth of the Mallrats book that gives us some more insight into certain characters. I wish we had something like that for Ram.
Yeah, this season needed it.
At least that. It's like, that's what I continuously think. I wish Harry would have written more books like that, just to give us some insight into our favorite villains.
The difference is, Season 1 stands on its own, even without Birth of the Mallrats. Season 4 does not stand on its own without extra material to explain what the frick is going on.
True. Like, just between us, we've created so much headcanons and backstories to help prop up Season 4, but...
Yeah,
it does need
doing a lot of heavy lifting to make this work.
Right, that brings Series 4, Episode 30 to a close. Thank you very much to the panel, and you can show your support by clicking on that like and subscribe, and following us on all the major platforms. You can also leave us a comment or get in touch if you'd like to take part in a future episode of the podcast yourself. Just search for thetribe.co.uk or Conversations on Eagle Mountain. You can also throw us a donation. Just head on over to buymeacoffee.com/thetribe.co.uk. And we will see you next time for episode 31. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye.